Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Eshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritav Vande Bhagavantav Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavataye Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Avachinna Jivaha, Chidabhasa Jivaha, and Swapna Kalpita Jivaha. The author posits these three views on Jiva. They are not three different Jivas. They are just viewing the Jiva from three different perspectives. And he uses it very effectively in this section, in this Anuvaka, to help us understand Satyam. And he said, Avachinna Jiva is Paramarthika. Here, Paramarthika means the most important. What about the other two? The Chidabhasa Jiva, which is like equated to reflection of the Jiva, of the Sakshi, and therefore we get multiple Jivas, multiple reflections. These reflections cannot be the same as the original. And yet, they are not different from the original. They look different. They perhaps behave differently because of the properties of the upadhi, which is reflecting the sakshi. So you get multiple jivas. None of them, the original is none of them. They are as though conditioned by the reflecting medium. This jiva is what the samsari identifies with. Because now you have multiple jivas of which I am one. Where did that I come from? Because of this identification with the upadhi, the individual which identifies with the sthula sukshma sharira, with the ahankara and with the antakarana. Ahankara is aham vritti, I. Antakarana is idam vritti, everything that is non-I. I identify with I within this body, immediately samsara walks out. There is samsara. There is everything, because now I have an I and a non-I. The Chidabhasa, who masquerades as I, not knowing that I is Purnaha, infinite, or better still, not recognizing that I am Purnaha. He masquerades as the I and has all the problems of the samsara. Starting with, I am karta, I am bhokta, I do, and I enjoy, I experience. Interestingly, this jiva, which all human beings identify with as I, the individual, is the one who can aspire for moksha. A few of them recognize that there is something missing, even if you can't put your finger on it. I am samsari, I am the karta bhokta, which I recognize because I have assumed the Chidabhasa is I, the jiva. And at some point of time, as one goes along in life with this assumption, one wakes up to the reality that there is something wrong. Even if I don't know what is wrong, something doesn't feel right. Therefore, this jiva, the Chidabhasa jiva, probably the most important jiva among the three from this perspective, can set up and say, listen, there is something wrong. I need to figure out what it is. He is not yet recognized the I that he is identified with is the I which, because of the ahankara, identification with the body, limits itself, not knowing that I cannot be limited. When that realization comes, when that contradiction becomes apparent, that's when the jiva wakes up. At least wakes up to understanding that there is something that is amiss. This Chidabhasa jiva is the star of the show. He is the one who's got to aspire. So he says that is the jiva which assumes samsaritvaṃ. Then he says there is a third jiva. Now this jiva is part of the vyavaharika jagat. The jiva is jagat. The jiva is vyavaharika. The jagat around him is vyavaharika. He may not recognize this. We will see that later in later verses. It's all vyavaharika. And what is vyavaharika? is whatever is Ishvara Shrishtam. The order of Ishvara. Whatever is created around us and in us, as we recognize it, is part of the order of Ishvara. Ishvara itself, as long as we imbue Ishvara with Ishvaratvam, is also part of the same Vyavaharika Jagat. Within this Vyavaharika, this Chidabhasa Jiva goes about transacting. Among the many transactions he does, on the one hand I said he can have the possibility of saying there is something more and start looking for it. But there is also the possibility that this Jiva who has been given the capacity, the same capacity to create that Ishvara has. Ishvara Shrishtam Jagat, where Ishvara creates everything in the Jagat, being the order, the same or similar capacity is given to this Jiva to produce the entire Jagat that he knows. So he posits a third Jiva, which is part of, although it is part of the Vyavaharika, you can think of it as a sub-part. Pratibhasika. He also projects. There is a projection that Ishvara creates with the help of Maya. And there is a projection that the Jiva creates a complete prapancham. This Jiva creates this prapancham based on the Jiva's knowledge of what he has picked up in his waking hours, in his interaction with the Vyavaharika Jagat. That knowledge is projected in a state when he is neither asleep nor awake. He completely projects a new world, a new time, a new Jiva, a new space, or Swapna Kalpita Jiva. The new Jiva he's created is Swapna Kalpita Jiva. You can say Swapne Kalpita Jiva or Swapnena Kalpita Jiva. But it does create a Jiva. He's showing all this because later he's going to say that this Pratibhasika Jiva, which transacts in this Jagat, which is also Pratibhasika, accepts this Pratibhasika Jagat as real. Till when? Till he finally wakes up from the state of dream. Now he suddenly says, oh, that was not real. Till then, the jivas interacting with each other in the pratibhasika jagat keep arguing with themselves. There has to be a jagat karanam for this jagat. One fellow says, that is Ishvara. Another fellow says, there is no such thing as Ishvara because I can't see the Ishvara. Remember, he is in the pratibhasika jagat. What Ishvara? Show me. There is only one, this Janma. Let us enjoy what we can. So they keep arguing among themselves. Within that pratibhasika, which is within the vyavaharika only. Everything is Ishvara's order only. From the waking perspective, everything is only Ishvara system. Even that pratibhasikam is part of that. But within that pratibhasikam, there are arguments. There are discussions. And it is extremely difficult for that jiva within that pratibhasika, as long as that pratibhasika jagat is seen as real, to accept that this is only mithya. This is only kalpita. Only when prabodha samaye, when you move from the state of swapna to jagrat state, the whole prapancham is seen as not real. Whatever happens in that jagat has nothing to do with what happens in the waking jagat. That hunger he experienced in that swapna jagat, swapna prapancham, that jiva, cannot be satisfied with food that he ate in the, or will eat in the Jagrat Avastha. The same thing is true the other way around. If you are hungry, nothing to eat, somehow you manage to go to sleep and you dream that you are sitting in a large dining table. There are liveried servants coming and serving you course after course after course. You've eaten all that you can eat, you can't eat anymore. And then you wake up. And when you wake up, you're still as hungry. All that you ate in the Swapna Jagat did nothing to appease the hunger in the Jagrat Avastha. So he posits these three jivas and he calls the avachinna jiva, which we always add in brackets, avachinna iva. Avachinna is parichinna, limited by. as though limited. Why as though limited? Because the orders of reality are different. It's like your waking hunger has no relationship to the food you eat in the swapna. What is doing the avachinnam? The three sharira, Sthula, Sukshma, Karana sharira. They don't belong to the same order of reality as the Sakshi, Brahman. Therefore, any limitation that you think it's imposed on this is only imaginary. This avachinna jiva, therefore he calls it pratibhasikam. Because any limitation is only as though limitation. Sometimes this can cause a little confusion. And it should cause confusion. Otherwise, there is no knowledge possible. Saying the jiva is a limited entity because that's our experience. Brahman is unlimited, infinite, purna. How can you ever say they're the same? Unless this contradiction is seen, there's no way we can resolve it also. Unless we can resolve it, there is no knowledge possible. So to address this, having shown us the view of the three different jiva and told us that avachinna jiva is as to avachinna jiva and therefore paramarthikam, he goes on to say in the next verse, verse 33. Avacheda kalpitasyat.
Avacheda kalpidasya.
Avachedyam tu vastavam.
Avachedyam vastavam.
Tasmin jivatvam aropat.
Tasmin jivatvam
Brahmatvam tu swabhavatah.
brahmatvam tu svabhavatah.
Two interesting words here. Jivatvam and vastavam. Jivatvam is the abstract noun for jiva. The property of being jiva. Jiva has jivatvam. That is why it's called jiva. And the jivatvam mainly is defined as that which is limited in every way. Can we say Brahmatvam? He doesn't use the word Brahmatvam. Brahman has no tvam about it. What about Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam? Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam are not properties of Brahman. Satyam is Brahman. Brahman is Satyam. Jnanam is Brahman. Brahman is Jnanam. And there being nothing else, that Brahman is Anantam. They are not properties. They are not like calling something big or something of particular color. They do not distinguish Brahman from another Brahman. There is no other Brahman. So what are they? They are called Lakshyartha. They are Brahman. Satyam is Brahman. Jnanam is Brahman. Anantam is Brahman. So one has to understand what is Satyam, what is Jnanam, what is Anantam. So there is no Brahmatvam. As there is Jivatvam, as there is also Ishwaratvam. Sometimes it can be confusing because when you ask anybody, they will tell you Ishvara and Brahman are the same. And yet Ishvara has Ishwaratvam. Because Ishvara is Jagat Karanam. Ishwaratvam is the capacity to create the Jagat. Ishwaratvam is Sarvajñatvam because you must have Sarvajñatvam to be able to create all that is there in the Jagat. Ishwaratvam is Sarvashaktimatvam. You must have all the capacity to create everything. But it is not like a pot maker creating a pot. Pot and the pot maker belong to the same order of reality. There is a creation. An object, utpatti is there. But where Ishvara is concerned, there is no utpatti. There is only manifestation. As though the orders of reality are different. Therefore, there is no creation. With that understanding, then we can talk about Ishwaratvam. Yes, sir. Same thing with Jivatvam. Jivatvam defines a jiva as one who is alpajna, who is alpashaktiman. How can this alpajna, alpashaktiman be said to be the same as Anantam Brahma? The doubt might arise. Doubt should arise. So in this verse he says, this is what he called avacheda jiva. Avacheda jiva. There is avachedaka, which does the avacheda means limiting. There is avachedya, that which is limited. And there is avacheda, that limitation itself. The avachedaka, the one that seems to limit that limitless Brahman to create an apparent jiva, is not real. He says that avachhedaha kalpitasya. It is only illusory. Okay. If it is illusory, why are we talking about it? If it is not real, why are we talking about this at all? We have to talk about it because it seems real. We experience it every day. I am the jiva, and you're telling me that this jiva, whatever limitation I think I have, is not real. But I feel it's real. I experience it. So I cannot therefore dismiss it. It is there for me to feel, perceive, experience. This avachhedaha kalpitasya. Therefore, I have to discuss it. And avachhedyam to vastavam. Avachhedyam is vastavam. Vastavam means that which is real, which is the vastu. Vastavam is used commonly also to show what is real in language. Somebody tells you something very correct, say vastavam now. It's true. Avachhedyam. What is avachhedyam? Brahman, Sakshi. He is real. How do you prove this? He makes a statement. Avachhedaha kalpitasyat. Avachhedyam tu vastavam. Where is the contradiction? There are many ways of seeing this and trying to prove the statement. The jivatvam comes because of the avachheda by the three sharira. The limitation imposed by the three sharira as though. Like pot space. As though the space is limited by the shape and size of the pot. The three sharira, sthula sharira, called karyam, the sukshma sharira called karanam, and avidya based karana sharira called karanam. This sanghata, this combination, sthula sukshma karana sharira combination, called karya karana karana sanghata, is itself another order of reality. Is mithya, is kalpita. Only Brahman, the Vastu, is real. When in the waking state, we are convinced that aham samsari, aham this jiva. And with that conviction, we go to sleep. In this deep sleep state, Sushupti Avastha, the Karya Sharira becomes unmanifest. It's not available for any transaction. the Sukshma Sharira becomes unavailable. Only prana remains operational. And prana remains operational because you need to get up the next morning. Why do I need to get up the next morning? Because you still have so much of prarabdha karma to experience. That Sharira is required. If prana also goes, Sharira goes, where will you go with the rest of the prarabdha? So when the Sukshma Sthula Sharira are not being available, and Karana Sharira is also unmanifest. What is Karana Sharira? Ajnanam. There is no Jnanam Ajnanam in deep sleep. Now, Brahman, the Sakshi, where is that? That still remains, no? So, one can easily infer that this by which the Sakshi is parichinnaha cannot be I, is not real. I continue even when these objects or these sharira which are the cause for my avachinna are not available. I continue to exist in the form of Sakshi. In the same form that I was in the waking state and in the dream state. No different. That's what I'm able to get up in the morning. And although the Sthula Sukshma Sharira was not available, I'm able to say, I slept well. Brahmatvam remains, not in the form of Brahmatvam, but as Vastavam, as the Vastu. So, Avachhedaha Kalpitaha, not real. It is not required for Brahman to exist. But Brahman is required for the whatever is doing the Avachheda to exist. Therefore called Mithya. Avachhedyam to Vastavam. And by this Avachhedyam, Avachhedakaha, that which is limited is superimposed. Tasmin jivatvam aropat. There is a aropa because of this avachinna, illusory avachinna. Because of that, certain limitations which belong to the avachinnaha appears to belong to Sakshi I. Tasmin aropat. Tasmin naka Sakshini. Aropat jivatvam. Therefore jivatvam. That jivatvam appears as though it belongs to Brahman Sakshi. Brahman Sakshi is Vastavam. Brahmatvam to Subhavataha. He used the word Brahmatvam. What is Brahmatvam? There is no attribute of Brahman. It is Nirguna. But how do we even understand Brahman? We have to use words. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. As Brahman itself. Not different. That is svabhavataha. Again, you use the word svabhavataha. Normally, the use of the word svabhavataha would indicate it's characteristic. But here, Brahman has no svabhava. He can only be the Swarupa of Brahman. Swarupa remains unchanging. Svabhava can change. The Swarupa of sugar is sweetness. Will never change. The Swarupa of fire is heat. Will never change. The Swarupa of Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Remains unchanging. So if you want to understand this non-obvious equation between Jivatvam and Jiva and Brahman, it's possible only when you understand the Mithyatvam of the Jiva. Because of the Mithyatvam of everything that seems to create Jivatvam. That belongs to one order. Like the dream hunger has nothing to do with the waking hunger or fulfilled state. So, avacheda kalpita syat, avachedyam tu vastavam, covers it completely. That which is apparently limited is unlimited. Vastavam, satyam jnanam anantam. But that which seems to limit is mithya. Mithya cannot exist without satyam. Like the snake cannot exist without the rope. That is adhisthānam. But the rope does not need the snake to exist. Just like this mithya jagat, that snake is also real as long as it is there. It creates all that one normally experiences when one sees a snake in the waking state. Fear, disgust, or whatever else that love, whatever else one normally experiences, one experiences also that. While there is no snake. So these concept of Vidya and Satyam, that gets clear. One has a much, much better chance of understanding this contradictory equation. And he says this equation which equates Jiva with Brahman, he's posited three Jivas. Avachinna Jiva, as though Chidabhasa Jiva, like reflections, and Swapna Kalpita Jiva, to which we give existence. Pratibhasikam. Is of these three, the one that is equated to Brahman in all the Mahavakyas is the as though avachinna jiva. There is no avachinna, no parichinna. That Brahman is desha kala vastu anavachinna. And yet it looks as though there is this limitation. Therefore, when you say Jiveshwara Aikyam, here we are referring to this avachinna jiva. Because there is no real avachinna. In this next verse he says, read verse 34. Avachinnasya jivasya
Avacchinnasya jivasya
purnena brahmanaikatam
purnena brahmanekatam
tattvamasyaadi vakyani
tattvamasya vakyani
jagurnetara jivayoho
jagurnetara jivayoho
tattvamasyaadi vakyani avachinnasya jivasya purnena brahmana ekatam jaguhu. It is much easier to understand. Tattvamasyaadi vakyani avachinnasya jivasya purnena brahmana ekatam jaguhu. Na itara jivayoho. Jivayoho is dvitiya. Not the other two. Na itara jivayoho. These Mahavakyas, and of this, Tattvamasi is the Mahavakya we generally use. Swami G says, you can teach as much as you want, Aham Brahmosmi, only the words register. Because there's no questioning beyond that. But Tat Tvam Asi. Tat is that pronoun. And unless you know what that Tat is, unless one examines what that Tat is, and one examines what is Tvam, that equation will not be understood. What is the noun that this pronoun Tat refers? That. What is that? So in many places in the Shastra, you will find that Tat is explained in detail. 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita take 6 chapters to explain Tat. Ishavashyam idadasarvam. Tat. How do you understand Tat? Tat as everything here. Every object is tangible and intangible. Every object that is near and far. Every object that is small or big. If you define it like that, that means you include everything, all the cosmos, all the galaxies, all the planets. The space in which they are. The time which we keep arguing about. Big Bang happened 13.7 billion years ago. Down to the smallest microbe, down to the particles, to feelings, thoughts, all belong to the same category as though created. They are all karya. And karya being karanatvat ananya. They are the same as karana. So this tat includes everything, all of which is karya, all of which non-separate from Jagat Karanam Brahma. That tat, which also we need to understand. To simply say Ishvara created this Jagat, one imagines one Ishvara sitting somewhere and creating this Jagat. That is why Shravanam is important. There is no Ishvara sitting anywhere creating this Jagat. It is all just that order. That's why Ishvara is said to be Jagat Karanam Brahma, but Jagat Karanam with no change. Because Ishvara is Brahman. On which we superimpose Ishvaratvam. Abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. There is nothing else. Brahman and period. And this Karanam remains unchanging while the entire process of as though creation continues. Sadeva Sat Saumya Idamagra Asit. There's only one Satyam. Everything is as though. When we understand that much, then we are ready to take the next step and say, all that I thought I was belongs to this, and therefore non-separate from Ishvara. All these, this Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira, which I had assumed to be I, are all subject to change and destruction. And therefore they belong to the same Jagat. That still leaves a question of I. Then we are ready to see that I and Ishvara, without superimposing Ishvaratvam, the Jiva without superimposing Jivatvam, are nothing but that same Brahman. Purnam Brahman. So this apparently inappropriate, unequal equation gets a little clearer when we understand that the avachinna jiva is only as though avachinna. Therefore, if we remove the superimposition which causes jivatvam and therefore samsaritvam, what is left is only Brahman. That Brahman ahamasmi. That tat is I. avacchinnasya jivasya purnena brahmana aikatam. Tattvamasyadi vakyani, in this words, in this Mahavakya, Tattvamasi and others, Jagur na itara jiva yoho. It is declared, Jaguhu. That the Tvam in this equation, I have to recognize as though avachinna jiva. Not the other two. Na itara jiva yoho. The other two jivas, one is as though reflection, one is anyway pratibhasikam supna kalpitam. They cannot be part of that equation. Therefore, he says this avacheda jiva can be used to understand this Mahavakya, Tattvamasi. We try to use either of the other jivas, the equation will never make sense. We will look at it in a little bit more detail tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.